There's a lot of videos out there about how to get your ex back when you have been involved in an avoidant, anxious relationship and either your ex avoidant left you or you as the anxious guy left the avoidant ex. Now, we're going to talk about that because what you're being taught for the most part is wrong. We're going to talk man to man about this whole how do we get our ex back after the relationship ended. And I've been there. I've looked at all those videos. I'm the one that broke up with the avoidant. All right, there were just too many boundaries that were placed in front of me, and when I finally felt myself stuck, compressed into a box so tight that I was a grenade ready to go off, basically. And I ended it. All right, she ended up saying that I didn't feel safe to her. And I said at that point, there's nothing else we can do. And finally she said she agreed. And we ended the relationship. And then I started to, at first I was relaxed and chill and, you know, I finally created my own space, but then it started to sink into me a bit. It's like this need to get back, to talk to her, to get her back and to get that lack of validation medicine that I needed. Anxious guys don't want their ex to validate them. They want to keep invalidating them. Guys, dude, this is what you're going after. But the problem is, you know, we go looking for these videos. How do we get our ex back? And the first thing I want to say is that what you are trying to do is manipulate the situation. Manipulate that person. You're trying to figure out a way to manipulate that person to come back to you, to a relationship that you couldn't stand. And the really toxic part about that, yeah, anxious guy, you're toxic. They're not the only ones that are toxic, and here's why. Is because part of that manipulation is that by doing that, you are giving them more power to destroy what little respect you have for yourself. It's actually a sick and twisted way that we do things to make, try to get that person back. And I know you've seen the videos that are showing you these, what are some of the things that they say is, number one, go be the person that you're supposed to be. Do your glow up, I think is what they say. Go be successful. Show them. And then they'll say, but don't do it for them. You got to do it for you. At least some of them do. Others will say, just give them the silent treatment. Go no contact. Let them feel the missing of you. And I've gone through all this, right? Okay, I'll do it. I'll wait. You know, she wasn't coming back. And that was sending me into this little spiral. Eventually, about 2.5 months later, I just sent a message. You know, how you doing? I hope your healing is going well. My healing, it's been tough. You know, she messaged back, yeah, it's been difficult for her too. Very painful for both of us. But she ended up saying, you know, I don't want to come back. It's too confusing. She needed to heal too. So there's that part of us that still needs that person in our life to serve the need of being unfulfilled and chasing after being unfulfilled perpetually. There are other suggestions about getting your ex back, but when we watch these videos, it's like none of them have the right just the right tool. So we keep looking for the next video. How do you get your ex back? They're your ex for a reason. And usually in the anxious avoidant dynamic, you were hating it. You couldn't sleep. You'd wake up in the middle of the night, anxious all day long, staring at your phone, maybe coming up with messages you want to send, or waiting for them to actually kind of come back and say, oh, you know, I haven't been treating you so well. Please, I'm sorry. And it's a normal process as an anxious guy to go through this. But it's so unhealthy. The other thing that's really, one of the other things that we'll end up doing is sometimes we'll get right back on a dating site. I did it. About a month after, 2 months after, I started to get back on a dating site, but it just wasn't suiting me. Actually, part of me just needed something to fill that empty void. The pseudo X, if you will, just to try to get me to feel wanted again. And there was another part of me that wanted to experiment. What kind of person am I drawing in? And I would create this profile, and very deliberate about my pictures, right? Not just crappy ass pictures, you know, like this guy's, look at the cigarette hanging out of their mouths. And I mean, I really took the time to create up a profile, and then every couple of weeks I'd change it just to see what I was drawing in, also to see what I was attracted to. That was enlightening, because I could still see myself attracted to the dangerous ones. The ones that were very dangerous. My shoe's untied, I'm gonna have to tie it. That dangerous one, that one, yeah, well, all of my nicks, right? I wanted to build up the skill to say no. I wanted to see the red flags. And even if I was attracted to those red flags, be able to say no, follow that little spirit inside of me. But the whole point of this video is watching these videos of how to get your ex back. Dude, she beat you up, but she also revealed to you your own shortcoming of lack of self-respect. And you are dependent on her to rebuild that self-respect. And you gotta remember, she was tearing it down. You got into a point of begging her, essentially, to please see the value in you, which means you weren't seeing the value in yourself enough to say, this relationship is not healthy. I got to get out. I got to figure out who I am and why I'm attracted to somebody that's going to hurt me some more, that's going to reject me, that's going to broadside me, that's going to skip away or create distance in one form or another when a certain level of intimacy is starting to be demanded of them. When I say demand, that's normal in relationships that are growing. And basically at this point, you were begging for it. You know, I want to be more intimate. And they are showing you all the signs that they are not going to go there. They're too afraid of it. You're too afraid of being abandoned, being alone. You know, when you're single, it's kind of okay, but there's this part of you in between where you're feeling like you're incomplete. At least that's what I was doing. You know, and not a lot of confidence to go chase after dates and just get out there and have the right green flag, red flag boxes ready to check off in my head and to feel them in my gut and respond to them. But the red flags were there with your relationship, not just with them, but you have red flags too. The problem is you don't see it. right? We don't see our own red flags through our own filters. And this is where most people will say, oh, they're bad people. Oh, I see it so much. That anger, right? Feel the anger. Let that anger come out. Be pissed. Call them names. In your mirror, just shout out, fuck you for doing this and doing that. And to all the people that seem to support that whole thing. But to want that person back in your life after the pain that they put you through, it's like we somehow subconsciously chop out the pain, the invalidation, the disrespect, the dismissal, the lack of reciprocity or repair for things that they caused, fractures in the relationship. And what we're wanting to do is get back with them so it'll satisfy this ego part of us. First of all, if they come back to us, then our ego won. We got the person back. But when the ego's winning, the ego is so fragile, they will just take off again. And here's the big problem with wanting your ex back soon after you guys parted ways is nothing's changed. You haven't changed. You're begging in your mind to want him back. You're trying to figure this out, try to manipulate this whole situation so it's going to work out in your favor without regard to what is actually happening and whether they really want to come back to you or not. So it's actually a fight, and I get this, the struggle to recapture the pain that you were going through in the relationship, the beating down of your self-respect, allowing it to happen, creating situations where you are training them to treat you with disrespect. And just perpetually training them. You know, I'm going to bet that you, as an anxious guy, as a relationship was going south, and your sense of manhood and protector and the person who takes care of the family kind of thing, as that is being chipped away at, you're not standing up for yourself. You might have tried, or you might think that you tried to stand up for yourself. But the fact that it continued to happen, the backing down when a boundary is crossed. Why is a boundary crossed? Because you don't have a boundary intrinsically defined within you. You might have it at the surface, but it's not integrated within you. I did a video on boundaries, what they are, and how to create them. Because there's a lot of videos out there that talk about boundaries, that you need to have boundaries, but they really don't tell you exactly what they are. Boundary is redefining who you are. It's changing your identity as a real man to a real man. And what is a real man? A real man just knows his shit. He knows where he's going, knows what he's going to tolerate, knows what he won't tolerate. Dude, you'll have so many more women coming to you in that mindset. But the problem is, or the thing is in that statement, is you can't fake it. You have to become the person that's going to let yourself become that person in a way, how do I put this? When you're that person, you're not in a place of manipulation. You're in a place of control. So if you try to create boundaries and you're not changing your core identity, you're just trying to manipulate a situation that's going to backfire on you. You want a relationship that's going to last, where you're valued, where she sees you, supports you, will listen to you, you'll have the back and forth discussion. You're both open to your feelings and both reflective. Relationships are two-way streets. And when you're doing this thing of trying to get them back, you're playing a one-way street. They're not trying to come back. Let them come back on their own. The best videos that I ever saw about this, which I didn't like, right, because it wasn't getting me the manipulation I wanted, were the ones that said, go do your thing, become the man you need to become. And if they are so inspired after you do that to come back, then they'll come back, and your job at that point is to say, well, okay, let's talk. What have you done to change you? Have you reflected on the way that you have caused rupture in a relationship? And then also having the wherewithal to be patient, to let your trust build back up. Because the minute they come back, you're not going to trust them again anyway. Right? You lost your trust. They blew your trust. You just haven't been able to admit it. So they have to earn that back, and so they have to want it. But if they're coming back and you haven't changed, you haven't done your own work, you haven't looked inside yourself, looked in the mirror and say, okay, this part of you, Garrett, that's me, is a wimp. You have no backbone in this space. So what are you going to do to build up that backbone to become solid enough to be able to say no when a no is required, and to stand by that no at the risk of losing that person? Asking or desiring your ex back, it's a natural response for an anxious mindset. But that anxious mindset is, let's just put it this way, it's loserville. If you've had a record of relationships that have failed, and they all have that same pattern, guess who's losing every time? When you don't have respect for yourself, they're not going to treat you with respect. You're going to find the people that are going to reinforce that. And that's exactly what the avoidants do. That's their job, right? That's their mindset. Because while you're wanting respect from them, they don't have respect for themselves. There's something in themselves that has a sense of worthlessness. And they're not, it's like this opposite thing, right? You also have this sense of worthlessness in a relationship. The dynamic creates itself that way because your operating system has been set up that way. You got to change that operating system, and it's hard. It takes time. But you're both coming to the same thing from a different perspective. They want you to treat them like a queen and respect them as queens, but but they're not willing to give you the same thing. So what do? We're constantly feeding them. That's how the relationship gets manifests itself. When they don't have any self-respect, and you give them all the gold, you give them all your self-respect, and don't keep any for yourself over time. And you're wanting that person back. This is a tough thing because it takes time to start to absorb the statement in yourself that's saying, why do I want this person back? Just sit on it for a while. Just hold off. Find someone to talk to. And it's hard to find someone to talk to when you feel shame about it. So inside, you want that person back. but you won't talk to the world about it because you're too ashamed about it because of the way they treated you. You want to get back into this relationship because you want the approval. You want the self-respect. You want the respect from them to validate you. And if they couldn't give it to you in the relationship, in fact, it's not that they just couldn't give it to you, they were chipping it down further and further. They were stealing more and more of your self-respect because they were just chipping away at you, and ultimately it's because you didn't have it as a core foundation. And that goes way back, right? You don't beat yourself up over it. It just is what it is. It doesn't feel good to come to this conclusion that I don't have the self-respect that I need. I just want love, and I want you to love me and respect me. But they chipped away at it. If they don't change and you don't change, if neither one of you has done the work or only one of you is doing the work, it's not going to be any different later on. It's going to go to the same dynamic. If you have started to build up your own self-respect and they come in and they haven't really changed, you're going to get the yuck feeling really quick. You're going to see it. It's going to, when they start doing it, it's going to be like a big spotlight on that thing because you finally attuned to your own sense of respect and their inability to give that to you and their attempt to bring it down. It's not what they do consciously. Your avoidant partner wants love just like you do, wants that deep relationship. They're afraid of it and you want it. But both people want it. Most people really want it, especially a fearful avoidant. Mine was fearful avoidant. That's what they call disorganized attachment. So there's a dismissive nature about them, there's an anxious nature about them. And that's really confusing, but they're also the ones that have really deep conflicted feelings, but you got them too, right? And they're opposing feelings. They're going, I want this. They come in and do the moves to try to bring you in, and then when you get to that point of, okay, a little bit of intimacy is starting up, then they push it away again. And they don't do it in a nice way. They disrespect you. Super confusing. Why do you want that? Why do you want that person back? You got to dig into yourself and start saying, why am I trying to get this back? Why am I looking for this? Look in you, acknowledge that it's there, right? Say, this is okay, this is where I'm at, this is what I'm feeling. That relationship was such a train wreck. Why do I want it back? Well, I saw the potential in them, and I know they got it in them, and they're beautiful, and she's the sexiest woman on the planet. I did a video too on the Phantom X. Because if they're avoidant, they probably are sitting on a Phantom X. And you need to watch that. Phantom X is someone in the past with unresolved emotional connection. Whether it's healthy or unhealthy. You know, why can't she get over her ex? Kind of thing. It's because there's unresolved emotions in that situation. And it's not healthy for you, for them, for the other person, and for your relationship. That's what we call a triangle. It's triangulation. It's where there's three people in your relationship. You, your lady, and her, somebody in her past. And that's really dangerous for a couple of reasons. Number one is there's a piece of them that's being kept over at that Phantom X, right? That is not available to you, that will need to be available to you at some point. And when that time comes, if they haven't dealt with the Phantom X, that section is going to, that part, that intimacy that's needed, is going to be chopped away. Right? She's not going to go for it. She's going to resist you. And you're not going to see it. It's not going to be, you're not going to see it with the Phantom X. But I'll bet you that sometime around that area, it'll show itself again in some way. Whether she's talking to him or not is not the point. So I'll link that video for the Phantom X in the description of this video, because you got to see it. As an anxious guy, you've got to see and understand the Phantom X, because this Phantom X will always destroy your relationships. Always. Okay, so coming back to this, how do we get our ex back? Let them come back to you. But you got to have boundaries, right? If you have not changed, if you have not addressed their behavior and said, wait a minute, this is no longer acceptable, of them doing this, that, sarcasm, the blame shifting, the redirect, whenever you're trying to bring up intimacy or expressing feelings of something that they have done to hurt your feelings, and they're not willing to take accountability for it, they're going to do these various things because they don't know how to express it. They may know inside the feeling, know that this, I did something wrong, but not being able to express that in a way of an apology, and I have to, I'm going to take a look at me and I'm going to change this, right? Validating you. All these things, if they weren't in your relationship then, all you're doing when you're trying to figure out how to get your ex back is trying to get back to that situation where you want to get their validation, something that they will not give to you. They're not capable. They don't have the capacity. Right? I want you to look at it that way instead of hating on your ex, hating on the avoidant. Right? Because that's toxic to you. You got to go through it. You got to go through all that anger, but you can't hold it. Right? You just got to see that this is just their internal makeup. They're not malicious about it. Narcissists are totally malicious. But the avoidants, they're not malicious. Right? These are things that come out from their operating system before they even think about it. But we do the same thing in our own way. Point is, your Phantom X, your desire to have that person back, that's toxic, brother.